other shows we have for you to enjoy at myclassicradio.net. The Avengers was most certainly not a household name in South Africa prior to the radio series. With no national television service until 1976, the mechanism simply was not present in the country to show television programs to mass audiences. While many other countries reveled in the filmed adventures of John Steed and company, South Africa was not equipped to join in the fun. The series took Britain by storm and made a major impression in the American markets, being that greatest of rarities, a British series given a network transmission slot. However, as a filmed series, rather than a videotaped one, The Avengers was able to gain a modicum of exposure in South Africa through film rentals. Come and listen at myclassicradio.net.
Dramas of the Court. The law awards and the law punishes. Presenting true-life jury trials. Stories in fictionized form, typical of the unfolding human dramas of the court. Tonight, the man with the missing finger.
Extra, cat burglar scores again. Daring six-story climb for rich jewel hole. Paper, read all about it. Cat burglar scores again. Six-story climb for rich jewel hole. Paper.
The newsboys were howling it all through the city as I made my way to work. Gus Greenwood gets all the big headaches in that branch of the New York Police Department. I thought to myself, poor old Gus. You're in for it again, fella. Only I didn't really feel sorry for him. Just a bit smug that for once in a while it wasn't me who was going to get it in the neck. So you can imagine how I felt when, before I'd even have time to put my feet on the desk, the chief came sailing into the office and said,
Richard, it's about time these cat burglaries stopped. We've got to do something.
Sure, Chief, but why come to me? I seem to remember there's a guy in this outfit by the name of Gus Greenwood.
Never mind, Greenwood. This is your baby.
Mine? As of when?
As of right now.
Oh, but Chief,
Don't argue. I got Gus tied up on other things, more important stuff. Can't afford to waste him on a straight job like this.
Well, thanks, Chief. You're just the boy to put a shot in the old morale.
Now, just listen to me, Fitchett. I want this human fly caught. I want him caught quick. It's up to you.
Okay. I'll go bring him in right away. Who is he? Where does he live? What's he look like?
The only time you're funny, Lieutenant, is when you don't try. Suppose you curb that brilliant wit of yours, and we'll see if we can talk this over sensibly.
Well, I just thought that maybe you...
Don't think, just listen. This guy started operations about 6 months ago. Since then, he's pulled no less than 23 jobs. An average of almost one a week.
You'll be having the CIO down on him for working overtime.
In the last month alone, he's been responsible for 7 robberies.
As many as that, eh? All wall-crawling jobs?
Yeah. Nothing seems to stop him. One was a 10th-story apartment. To get to the window and let himself in, he had to crawl or climb 18 feet along a 10-inch ledge with a straight drop in front of him of 120 feet.
I sure hope if I ever run across this guy, I don't have to chase him anywhere.
It seems obvious to me. Must have been a circus or a vaudeville performer at some time. An acrobat, maybe, or more likely still, a wire walker. That ought to give you a lead of some sort.
Oh, sure. I don't suppose there'd be more than 5 or 10,000 of them in the United States. Got a list of the jobs he's pulled, Chief?
Yeah. Here it is. Full details in every case. Date and place of robbery, approximate time, victim's name, and full list of items stolen. We're keeping a close check on all known fences, but none of the hot stuff's come to light yet.
I see here on the 19th of September he pulled 2 jobs in one night. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
But it don't fit. Now, here's a Mrs. Ballmeyer of Park Avenue. She says she saw a shadowy figure scrambling out of her window at 2:20 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And over here's a Mrs. Stuyvesant, right over on 42nd Street. She says she was returning home about 2:30 a.m. when she saw a man emerge from a side alley and disappear. When she went upstairs, her apartment was ransacked. No one guy could do it in the time. There must be two of them, Chief. They're either partners or working independently.
Well, we figured that for a while, too. But then we came to the conclusion that in the excitement, one of the women must have got her times wrong.
Why?
Well, mainly because the technique in every one of these robberies is exactly the same. Genuine cat burglars as clever as this guy only come once in a while. There's not one instance on the records of two of them working at the same time.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And another thing. All his victims are drawn from the one class, what the columnists call cafe society. Now, our theory is this guy himself spends all his time in night spots. He waits till he sees a woman nicely loaded with the right kind of ice. And then he tails her home, locates her apartment, gives her time to settle down to sleep, and goes to work.
So all I've got to do is find an ex-circus performer who hangs around nightclubs, eh?
That's all.
Sounds just too easy.
Sure. Nothing to it. That's why this guy's been in our hair 6 months now. And we don't even have a line on him.
If all that was needed to locate him was hanging around nightclubs, I should have landed him in quick time. For the next fortnight, I was never out of my tux. My expense account looked more like that of an advertising executive. I met a lot of interesting people. Some of them I recognized by their portraits in the newspapers, and some by their photos in the files at headquarters. But I didn't meet any superannuated wire walkers. I put my sidekick, Al Hickson, onto compiling a file of past and present vaudeville acrobats and so on. To start him off right, I went along with him myself to interview our first theatrical agent.
Acrobats, tumblers, wire walkers. We don't have so many on our books nowadays. Variety is not what it used to be, you know. I couldn't rustle up more than a dozen of them right this minute, not even if you begged me on your knees.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as that. You're not my type. Let me have the pictures and details of all you've got, will you?
Okay, I got them right here in this file. Yeah. Here we are. You want both sexes or only men?
Well, you better toss them all in for good measure.
Right.
Well, make a note, Al, and take charge of the stuff.
Okay, boss.
This lot you've given me are people who are still in show business, I take it, right?
That's so, Lieutenant.
How about the others you've handled? Guys who've given it away or gone into some other line.
How far back?
Oh, 5, 10, dozen years, maybe. Would you have them still?
I don't know offhand, you see. Every 2 or 3 years, we take a week off to go right through our files. Most of the dead stuff we toss out. Still, there might be some kicking around. I got a lot of junk lying around out in the back room. Give me time and I'll go through it.
Oh, that's just swell, boss, isn't it? I'll come back one day next week.
The heck you will. You'll come back tomorrow morning.
I don't know whether I could get around to it as soon as that.
You never can tell till you try. And just remember, mister, it's the police department, not a downtown burlesque joint you're dealing with.
Could I forget it?
Another week went by and nothing happened. Except by now, Al Hickson was collecting a supersized file on Vordak that, as far as I could see, didn't tell us a thing. I began to think that maybe the guy, whoever he was, had seen me in a couple of the night spots, guessed who I was and why I was there, and decided to lay low for a while. Then, just as I got nicely off to sleep one night, the phone rang. It was the chief.
Yeah?
The chief here, Fitchett.
Oh, yeah, Chief.
Fitchett, you'd better take a run over to Berkeley Mansions, 148A Riverside Drive, and talk with a Mrs. Margot Van Marston.
Who's she, Chief?
Well, with your intimate knowledge of cafe society, I'd have thought you and she'd be buddies by now.
What does she look like?
How should I know? I only talked to her on the phone 5 minutes ago. It seems she's had an uninvited visitor.
The cat burglar?
You catch on quick.
I'll be there in 5 minutes. Well, 10 anyway.
Okay. Make with the Superman routine if you have to, so long as you get there quick.
I I gathered up Al on the way. We were there in half an hour, which wasn't bad, considering. As it happens, I had seen this Mrs. Van Marston a couple of times at the Store Club in El Morocco and joints like that. She was the type, once seen, never forgotten. Early 30s, smallish, neat, blonde with blue eyes. Lucky guy, Mr. Van Marston, I thought. Then I changed my mind. Not so lucky. She was a widow. And what she had to tell me was interesting.
I'll take it from the beginning, Lieutenant. I was at the Flamingo Club this evening. That's a nightclub, you know.
Yes, you don't have to tell me, lady. I'm on speaking terms with all of them.
Oh, well, anyhow, I was there with a friend.
Name?
Eddie Markinson.
Oh, yeah. Broadway producer, isn't he?
Yes, that's right.
Make a note of that, Al.
Okay, but
I'm sorry to interrupt, lady. Go on.
I was tired, so we left about 1 o'clock. We took a cab home here. My friend came in for a nightcap, and then he left, and I went to bed.
What time would that be?
Oh, a little after 2, perhaps. I suppose I was asleep by 1:30. Anyhow, I woke suddenly. It was dark, but I was conscious there was someone in the room. Whoever it was seemed to be at my dressing table.
What'd you do?
I switched on the bedside lamp.
Weren't you scared, lady?
Of course I was scared,
Why didn't you draw a gun on her?
because I didn't have one.
Then why didn't you...
Oh, pipe down, Al. Who's conducting this investigation?
I only thought...
Pipe down, I said. Just do your best to ignore him, Mrs. Van Marston. Well, you turned on the lamp. What then?
He sprung straight at me. I tried to fight, but he was much too strong. He bound and gagged me.
What with?
This cord.
Where'd he find that?
It doesn't belong here. He must have carried it in his pocket. Anyhow, he bound and gagged me, stuffed his pockets with things from my dressing table.
Jewelry and so on?
Yes. And then he went out the window and disappeared. I don't know how he could have possibly done it. It's a 6-story drop from here, but anyhow, that's how he went.
And how he got in, too, no doubt.
It took me ages to free myself. Half an hour at least. I rang the police department right away and spoke to the commissioner, who said he'd send a man over. And that's the whole story.
Do you know what's been stolen?
I've made out as complete a list as I can remember. Rings, dress and hair clips, earrings, a couple of bracelets, and a string of pearls. Also about $100 in cash. Here it all is, written down.
Thank you. That's awfully helpful of you. Take charge of it, Al.
Okay, boss.
Now, the guy. Did you get enough of a look at him to give me his description?
Well, he was dark and swarthy, a bit on the average height, but thick-set and powerful.
Age?
I could only guess at that. 35, 40 perhaps.
How was he dressed?
Slacks and a polo neck sweater. I remember especially he had no coat.
Was there anything else particular you noticed that you think might help us at all?
Well, yes, there was one thing.
Let's hear it.
He wore gloves, of course. That was to avoid fingerprints, I suppose. But I did notice that one of his fingers was missing. I couldn't be positive, but I'm almost sure it was the second finger of the left hand. Do you think that might help?
Lady, you practically put the guy behind bars.
We will return in a moment to continue the story of the man with the missing finger. But first, your announcer. We continue the story of the man with the missing finger.
Back at headquarters, Al and I spent a busy morning among the records. Guys with second finger left hand missing don't come too often. But even a cop gets a lucky break occasionally. Around noon, we got onto something hot.
Here, listen to this one, boss. Grazino. Antonio, in brackets Tony, age 27. This is dated 1938. That'd make him, let me see now.
Skip the higher mathematics, Einstein. Just go on telling me what it says.
Okay. Height 6 to 7 inches, weight 151. Complexion swarthy, eyes brown. Special identification marks. Second finger of left hand amputated below first joint.
Sounds like it could be him. What's his record?
One conviction, Frisco, 1928. 12 months for breaking and entering. Paroled after 3 months, and get a load of this, boss. Occupation, circus performer.
Now we're really getting someplace.
Here's his photo.
Well,
Seen him before?
half a dozen times in different night spots.
Yeah, looks like we're getting hot. Well, what are you going to do, boss? Bring him in and give him the old grill?
The trouble with you, Al, you've got no finesse. The description fits okay, but that doesn't mean a thing. He mightn't be the guy at all. Even if he is, should we put him on the guard right away by letting him know we suspect?
Yeah, but...
The first thing we do is locate him. Then we investigate him. What's his line of business? What's he been doing since 1938? Then, if we still think it's him, we get this Van Marston dame and the other one, Mrs. Stuyvesant, to...
Who's she?
Don't you remember anything? She's the one who saw a guy coming out of a side alley as she was going home one night.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Well, we get these two to give him a quiet look over. If they say it's him, then maybe we'll bring him in for a little conversation. It didn't take more than a couple of nights to locate our man. After that, it was strictly routine. Al did most of the legwork, so I'll let him tell you what we found.
The guy was Grazino, all right. We were able to get hold of a highball glass with his fingerprints on it, and they checked with Grazino's in the files. He was using a different name now, Tony Riccardi. Seemed like he'd kept his nose clean ever since the Frisco business. He'd gotten into the advertising racket, selling space for a chain of magazines. We investigated his friends. They seemed in the clear. In fact, you'd have said, here was a guy who'd made one mistake. And he'd done a pretty good job of living it down since.
Well, that's how it seemed. Till we brought in both Mrs. Van Marston and Mrs. Stuyvesant. Mrs. Stuyvesant wouldn't swear a Bible oath on it, but she thought it was the same guy she'd seen. Mrs. Van Marston was considerably more certain. In fact, she had no doubt about it whatever. But even so, it'd take more than her identification to convince the jury. So I did the only possible thing. I put Al on detailing Grazino, and we waited. A week later, it happened. Fitchett here.
It's me, Boss Al. The balloon's gone up.
What do you mean?
I'm over at Washington Apartments, 184th Street.
What are you doing there?
I've been following Grazino. Honest, you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it with your own eyes.
Believe what?
The way that guy can scramble up an apartment building.
You mean to tell me he's on a job now?
Yeah. About a half a minute ago, I saw him climb into a 7-story window.
Well, what are you doing about it?
I've called in a couple of patrolmen, and we've got all the exits blocked. He can't get away. You'd better come right over.
Brother, I'm on my way. It was a clean cut. Grazino came quiet, but he didn't come clean. Not half as clean as I'd have liked.
Sure, I done a bit of camp work in the last couple of months. Why bother to deny it when you caught me cold? But you can't pin that whole list of jobs on me. No, sir. Nothing like it.
Oh, why not admit it, Tony? Won't make any difference to your sentence. You're going up for 5 years anyway.
Why should I admit what I ain't done?
Now, you don't have to be that way. If you come clean and help us, maybe you'll get a parole after a couple of years.
But I tell you, I never done all these jobs.
You admit the Stuyvesant one,
Yeah.
and the Balmar one,
No.
and the Von Marston one.
No.
There you are. That proves you're lying, Tony. You've been positively identified. Come on, give.
I never even heard of any Van Marston dame. You cops are all the same. Don't matter to you whether a guy's guilty or not. All you want is a nice little confession so you can tie the case up in red tape and forget it.
Now, listen, Tony, I'll make a deal with you. You talk now
I'm
and...
through with talking, Flatfoot. Next time I open my mouth, it'll be in court. And if I find you're trying to pin all these jobs on me and my lawyer will have plenty to say. Take my word.
In the end, we only charged him with the ones he'd admitted to. The evidence against him was clear. And when it was over, the judge put him out of circulation from 4 to 6 years. Al and I came back from court feeling pretty pleased with ourselves.
Yeah. I reckon we did a nice job on that case, boss.
Oh, not bad, Al. Not bad at all.
And even if Grazino wouldn't admit to the rest of the jobs, at least we know we've got the right guy. The point is, while he's in the jug, there'll be no more cat burglaries. And I guess that's what really matters. That's our real job.
Edgar Hoover couldn't have said it better himself, Al.
Gee, thanks, boss. Oh, say, what am I going to do with all these pictures and dopes about wire walkers and so on? They're still coming in batches every day from Philadelphia and all points west. Reckon I ought to toss them out? They just clutter up our filing system.
Well, you might as well hang on to them for a while. Say, you ought to be an authority on them by now. You could write a book.
Yeah. Maybe I will at that. Maybe I could get Chandler or Kane to ghost it for me. Now there's an idea.
I did just what Grazino had said. I put all the dope together and I tied it round in a red ribbon like they do down at the DA's office. Then I tucked it away neatly in a pigeonhole. I'd just about forgotten the whole thing when all of a sudden everything broke at once. It seemed an ordinary, uneventful night when I hit the hay about midnight. About 3 a.m., the phone rang. Okay, I'm coming. Yeah, what do you want?
Is that you, Lieutenant?
Who do you think it is, Lana Turner?
I thought you might like to know. We've just had another cat burglary reported.
What?
Apartment house on 45th, the Ritz, a 6-story job.
Is this on the level?
I value my job too much to pull a gag like this, Lieutenant. I got a wife and 3 kids.
Okay, give him my love. I'll dress and be right over. Why didn't I go into the soft goods business like my old man wanted? Where the heck's my shirt? Just somehow I had to be dragged out of bed. Oh, now, who the heck? Just a second.
You're up, boss.
Of course I'm up, you mutt. Who told you about it?
But what?
The cat job, of course.
You to say there's been another? Gosh. That kind of ties up with... Yeah, I see it all now.
Now, give me those shoes, will you?
Yeah.
Thanks. Say, listen, Al, if you didn't know about it, what are you here for anyway at this hour of the night?
Well, it had been worrying me for days. I knew I'd seen that face someplace. I couldn't sleep tonight, and I was lying in bed, and it came to me in a flash. Bingo, just like that.
Hand me my gun. What the heck are you talking about?
Well, like you said, I thought I might write a book about my cases. So I was going through all these pictures, and... Well, look for yourself, Bud.
Holy mackerel.
Wire Walker says. Different name, of course. Looks just a kid, but...
Come on, Al.
Where are we going?
Down to the precinct for a warrant. Then we interview a certain party. The apartment we moved in on was empty when we got there. We let ourselves in, and there was no sign of any attempt to make a quick getaway. So we just sat quietly and waited. We didn't have to wait long. About 10 minutes later. Good evening.
Who's that? Oh, it's you, Lieutenant. And Mr. Hickson. Oh, you gave me such a fright. How did you get in here?
You weren't home, so we let ourselves in. I hope you don't mind.
I don't suppose it'd make any difference if I did.
Well, we have a warrant.
A warrant? Exactly what do you mean?
We're looking for Mitzi Lamar.
Oh.
You know where she is, Mrs. Van Marston?
Why,
You, what?
Well, this is just a little unexpected, that's all. You see, Mitzi Lamar was my stage name.
What did you do on the stage, Mrs. Van Marston?
I was in vaudeville, specialty act.
Walking a tightrope, for instance?
Well, yes, but I really don't see... I'm not ashamed that at one time in my life I had to earn my living in that way.
Pity you didn't stick to it.
What do you mean?
Maybe you wouldn't have gotten into trouble over a little cat burglary.
You mad? How dare you suggest that
You might as well talk. The jig's up, sister.
If you're not out of this apartment in 1 minute flat...
You'll what?
I'll telephone the district attorney.
Save yourself the nickel, girlie. You'll meet him tomorrow. You've been very smart, Mrs. Van Marston, if that's really your name, but not quite smart enough. Cat work comes easy to people who have the training you have, doesn't it? You've been doing very nicely for the last 6 months, lining up your clients at the smart nightclubs and then going to work.
This is absurd. Tony Grazino's already in jail.
Must have set you back quite a bit when Tony muscled in on your racket. Not that he realized it was yours, of course. Somebody else was doing it, and it seemed like a good idea, so he just took a hand himself. You recognized him from the old show business days. He wouldn't remember you, of course. You were just a kid then. Something in pigtails not worth noticing.
You're guessing all this.
Well, maybe. Anyway, Tony had muscled in on your territory, and you didn't like it. In fact, one particular night, while you were pulling a job in one place, he was doing likewise in another, and that was bad. So your next victim was none other than Margot Van Marston, namely and to wit yourself. Very smart, Mitzi. By a lucky chance, you were able to get a good look at this guy who came in and robbed you. This description helped us a lot, particularly the missing finger part. You knew we'd have no trouble picking Grazino up, and that's just how it turned out.
If you're through with tonight's fairy tale, you can say goodnight. I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
We've got a nice little cot reserved for you at headquarters.
Don't you think this nonsense has gone far enough? You've built up an absurd case against me without a scrap of evidence.
That remains to be seen. No more than half an hour ago, a 6-story apartment on 45th Street was entered.
What's that got to do with me? I've been at the Flamingo all night. I came straight home. I can prove that.
Open her handbag, Al.
Okay, boss.
You've got a nerve.
Hand it over, sister.
You've no
I'm
right
through asking, babe. Give.
Oh.
The strong, silent type are Al. Anything there?
Plenty. And boy, is it hot.
All right, Mitzi. Let's walk. Al still hasn't got around to writing that book. Says he hasn't time. I figure Mitzi might do the job for him. Time's just the commodity she's got plenty of at the moment. 4 years, in fact.
In a moment, I will return with further news of this series. But first, your announcer. Report to the judge. The judge departs. The jury is discharged. The judgment has been given. Another human story is over until the law of the land is challenged again, and we are privileged to hear once more at this time dramas of the court. This is a Grace Gibson radio production produced by Reg Johnston.